Okay. So agenda item 1, Chairman's welcome, fire safety and exiting the building. We are not expecting any fire drills this evening, so if the alarm does go off, would you just make a swift exit out? Assembly point is in the car park opposite. And the second item is regarding recording of meetings, so I will read out the statement. So, subject to Standing Order 4.1.3, a person who attends a meeting is permitted to record on the meeting whilst the meeting is open to the public. Sorry, I've read that wrong then. Sorry, subject to Standing Order 4.1.3, a person who attends a meeting is permitted to report on a meeting whilst the meeting is open to the public. To report means to film, photograph, make an audio recording of meeting proceedings. Use other means of enabling persons not present to see or hear the meeting as it takes place or later, or to report or to provide oral or written commentary about the meeting so that the report or commentary is available as the meeting takes place or later to persons not present. Further detail is given in the Portishead Town Council Filming and Recording Policy, Policy C8, and the Portishead Town Council Behavioural Policy 4.1.3. A person present at the meeting may not provide an oral report or oral commentary about a meeting as it takes place without permission. We move on to agenda item 2, which is apologies for absence. I think we only have one. Yeah, we only have one. So Councillor Preston. Yeah. Okay, so if we can have a proposer, Janet, thank you, and a seconder, Emma, and all in favour of. Okay, that's everybody. Yeah. Agenda item 3, declaration of councillors' interest and request for dispensation. We'll just go around the table. Janet?
None that I'm aware of.
Emma?
No, none that I'm aware of.
Bob?
None I'm aware of.
David?
None that I'm aware of.
Ben?
None I'm aware of.
And none for yourself. All right. Yeah. Okay. So agenda item 4, which is the chairman's verbal update report. Lake Grounds play area is the first item. So work. Remember from the last community matters, there was a proposal put forward for some work to be done down at the Lake Grounds. That's commenced in some areas anyway. Areas around the skate park have been wood chipped and some plants have gone in. It's sustainable bedding, like I said, around the skate park. There's tree work that has started to be undertaken down there as well, and also one of the items on last month was the repair work to the platforms on the play equipment. So the go-ahead has been given to the contractors for that work to start, but I don't think we haven't got a date for that yet. Okay. Second item is the school term dates, 2025-26 consultation. So every year we get involved in a consultation. We're all. Oh, sorry, Bob.
Yeah, sorry. Oh God, that's loud. Well, with regards to the Lake Grounds and the work being done, obviously currently we have storms and more storms coming into and across the UK, and also heavy rain. I'm just wondering if this groundwork that's being done, will it be monitored during these early months of this year?
I think that there's certainly a question around whether or not the planting will be substantial enough to sort of withstand the footfall going around there, and also weather as well. It looks like it's pretty well settled in. But obviously we will need to keep an eye on it. Yeah. Okay, item 2, school term dates. As I said, consultation every year from North Somerset Council for the 25-26 term dates. The consultation is open. If you go in the notes, there is a link that takes you through to it. You can go in and have your say around whether or not the term dates, etc., are correct, or whether or not you want to put forward any sort of suggested changes to that. Generally speaking, it works on schools working on 195 days, which are 190 school days and then 5 in-service days. Closing date is the 19th of February, and then the published results come out on 15th April. So if you feel like you want to go in and take part in that consultation, just follow the link. It's relatively straightforward. Is there a point? Is there a point in commenting?
Sorry, is there a point in commenting? I'm not being facetious, but genuinely, is there a point? And I asked the reason is because our term dates in Portishead are different to Weston. Weston's different to Bristol. Well, whether we comment or not, I'll be honest, because my thoughts wouldn't be ignored anyway. I think it's going to go ahead anyway. So, genuinely, I'm not going to bother commenting because my comments wouldn't be particularly courteous because it's like, why? We're not all succinct. And why is this whole area not breaking up at the same time? Why are they all breaking up at different times, going back to school at different times? They not realise that people have jobs and stuff and childcare issues, that making it easier and succinct and more aligned will make it easier for everybody.
But then that would be a relevant point to feedback as part of the consultation. Well, that's your view.
I think it's quite a lot of people's views that have got kids.
Yeah.
Just a point.
Yeah. Okay. Any other points on that one? No. And then one
Sorry,
that's
no, seemingly on the link it says the feedback is going to be reviewed by the CYPS School Organisation Steering Group in the meeting in March, then submitted to the Director of Children's Services, following which the dates are published. So whatever that steering group is, that if they've got
and I think Ben's point there was, how much scope is there for changing it, and yeah, but I think if it's a relevant point, and if you don't mention it, then it won't be reviewed. But my recommendation would be go on, take part, have your say.
closes on the 19th of February.
I will do that.
Correct, yeah. And then one more point, which is not on the agenda item, but under Chairman's update, is Wyndham Way toilets. We have made a temporary change to the closing time. It's been brought forward by 1 hour to 4 o'clock. This is due to some antisocial behaviour that has been witnessed around there for a period of time. We will, as a council, will continue to monitor it to see whether or not this change moves this particular problem elsewhere. And if that needs to then be a permanent change, then we'll bring it back to the council to make a decision on. Okay. Any comments on that, Mr. Aldridge?
Yeah, obviously the police are involved. The police are aware of the issue. So it's not about moving on. It's about getting rid of the problem. Is the key issue here. But there are issues where staff have felt vulnerable. So this is a safety issue that we've taken not lightly, but some things have to take precedent, and staff safety is one of them. So yeah, as Paul said, we'll review it when we need to. Thank you.
Okay. Agenda item 5, public participation relating to meeting agenda items. We'll try one more time. Julie, can you hear us? Okay. Anybody here would like? Nope. Okay, we will move on. Agenda item 6, minutes of the previous meeting. Members to consider and approve the minutes of the committee meeting held on the 18th of December 2023 as a true record. Has everybody had a chance to read through? Anybody got any comments they wish to make? Silence is good. We like that. So we'll move to recommendation for the chair to sign the minutes as a true record. Can we have a proposer? David, and seconder Janet. And show of hands, a vote. No. Yep. Okay, I'll sign those at the end of the meeting. Sharon, okay. Agenda item 7, Knife Angel funding support. So there's been some communication around this that North Somerset Council have been working in partnership with the Knife Angel, and it's visiting North Somerset in 2024. The purpose of that is to highlight the issues of violent crime. A statue made up of over 100,000 knives. It's pretty spectacular to see. We have been approached to see whether we would consider supporting the Knife Angel and funding to assist with the project. There's not a plan for the Knife Angel to come to Portishead, but for the team to come and visit and put a stand up and talk about it and so on. Ben, I think you've got a few points on this you want to bring up.
Yeah, just that it can't come to Portishead. It's massive, this thing. The logistics of getting it from where it's coming from up north. The northeast, I think, is coming from down to here on the back of a truck. And it will come on the back of the truck and sit in North Somerset. This thing, as Paul said, is something to behold. It is made out of knives. It's absolutely fantastic piece of kit, but it's got a very strong point around it. Wendy and I sat, pardon the pun. Well, they're not actually sharp points. I've actually shaved them off here. But Wendy and I sat with the Knife Angel team from North Somerset just before Christmas. And the idea is they'll come into Portishead for a day or so and do a bit of a talk and talk to people in around the precinct area that'd like to go into the youth centre to get into the house. It's kind of this catchment of people they're looking at. And I also volunteered up skate park, obviously, for obvious reasons. Again, it's that catchment of people that tried to catch them before they kind of do anything crazy like that. Obviously, I've got a very personal thing in it. It's like my cousin was knifed to death last year. So for me, it's kind of a bit of an emotive subject, quite honestly. But they were asking for kind of funding help because they've got funding to get it down here and to put it all on, etc., across North Somerset. But it's going to cost a lot of money. They're not just asking us as a council, they're asking all the other councils as well to contribute. So the proposal is that we contribute £1,500 towards this, which I think for a day to promote, and if you even stop one knife crime, I think it's been a success, hasn't it? There isn't an issue in Portishead, Touchwood, but the ironic thing was when we were talking to them, there had been a major incident in Weston the week before, which again is unusual, but it does happen. So this thing is really important. It is having life-changing effects on people. It's kind of making them realise, I'm not big, I'm not clever carrying a knife, and it does have consequences. So that's the request from them. If anyone's got any suggestions can go anywhere else, it's what they can fit in a day. Obviously is the key, but yeah, David?
Could they go into Gordeno School? It seemed their key target audience would be concentrated there. If they had a word with their headmaster, I'm sure they'd be surprised they weren't happy for them to go there.
Yeah, we can ask them, yeah. It was, the Gordeno School was mentioned, but I'm not sure whether they're reaching out to all the schools as well. So Gordeno obviously was mentioned to say it's that catchment group. But we'll check with Claire. So yeah, not a problem, yeah.
Okay, a couple of questions. Jenny? If you could, please, yeah.
I just wondered whether anyone's been in touch with the youth offending team. It's just happens to be my next door neighbour, but one is head of the youth offending team. But I just think it's the sort of thing that they would definitely be interested in. They cover most of North Somerset. But
I'd be surprised if they're not. They are in contact with all the relevant, obviously, authorities and groups. So we're not having any control. We'll ask the question, not a problem. But obviously, we're not actually controlling it. It's being controlled by the team down in North Somerset. But we'll ask the question. I'd be surprised if they haven't. They've got this thing and it's costing a huge amount of money to get it here. So yeah, they're trying to hit as many areas, as many categories of people and groups, etc., as they possibly can in a very small window. So yeah, but we'll ask the question. Thank you. Yeah.
Mike? Oh, okay, Bob first.
Yeah, there's just a few things here. On obviously on the sheet discussing it, it says alongside security on site, the status during the evening. That's probably not good for obviously a thing about knives and about protecting. Also, I was just looking at it. I'm surprised it hasn't gone up north a lot more than it has. So it's done Bolton, Greater Manchester, Birkenhead, Milton Keynes, but not Liverpool, which obviously is quite Derbyshire, and Derby is quite knife crime areas. And I'm surprised that the Knife Angel hasn't turned up there. Also, I understand you can buy badges and things like that. Are they going to be available? So are they getting revenue from that as well? Yeah. Okay.
Mike?
Well, thank you. Just on the same sort of point, really. I mean, Bob seems to have a good idea of the itinerary. I presume it's not going just to be spending its time in Weston-super-Mare and then going straight back up north. It's
Sorry, no disrespect to North Somerset or Bristol areas, but knife crime is extremely high up north.
yeah, I'm sure it is.
I'm sure a lot of people have watched the police programs on TV, and you'll probably find that most of them are from northern towns and cities.
But it's on display for a month, I understand, isn't it, in the Italian Gardens? Presumably static. They're lowering it off the bed of the lorry. And it'll be there for the duration of the month. People will obviously go down and visit it. And the team will be there. I mean, probably not 24/7, but they'll be there to answer questions and talk about it and such like. And so, although they might be volunteers, some of this money will be going towards refreshments for them and other sort of associated costs, including what you've already mentioned, the travelling up and down from up north or wherever it's heading off to.
Yeah, the cost effect. I mean, the cost. I can't remember what the exact amount was, but the cost is a huge amount to get it down here. Obviously, for one, it's just to Bob's point first, Bob. Obviously, it goes wherever it's wanted to go to. Whatever council, local authority. So if Derbyshire County Council want it, they can pay for it and get it there. If Liverpool want it, they can get it there. If Scotland want it, they can get it. Whoever wants it, they can have it as such for a period of time. It's going around the country. It's not. This is just part of its journey. I don't know where it's going to go next. They don't know where it's going to go next. They will. Ultimately, it arrives here, because then the lorry will arrive a month later and obviously take it off again. But
I'm sure they've got a long list of places that they will be going to
There is
over several years. It just so happens that we've got the opportunity of being involved in it for the month that it's in North Somerset.
I think it's good that North Somerset have got it. Obviously, I think it really is, and the team down there are putting a massive amount of effort into it. So the costs, our small amount contribution that we've been asked for, will go towards the staffing and the cost for the people to be there during the day, 7 days a week, effectively, foreign volunteers as well. Obviously, you've got to have security there for obvious reasons, because people might decide it's a great idea to vandalise it. Well, that'd be criminal on its own. So unfortunately, these days you have to put security on everything, don't you? And obviously, there will be some bits and bobs kind of handouts for people. So again, nothing comes free, unfortunately, anymore. And obviously, North Somerset have put a sizable chunk of money into this. They are just asking local councils and other organisations, would you also mind contributing some money? They're not putting a figure on it. They're not saying, "Oh, we demand this." They were talking about it, and I suggested £1,500. It was my suggestion. So it's entirely up to you guys, I suppose. It's what it is. But I just think we should support it because it's important. But yeah.
You. No. You can. Same rules apply for everyone.
So just to highlight a few things, they visit each town and each major authority hosts it for a month. And they do sell merchandise, and the merchandise money goes towards a legacy fund for knife crimes. And they're asking for volunteers. So you can either go and volunteer for the safety and security of the Knife Angel. And then the money from other town councils is so that they could do outreach awareness days. And regards the youth offending team, it's being organised by the Violence Reduction Unit of North Somerset Council. So I think they're quite engaged with youth offending.
Oh,
Thank you, Laura.
sorry, just to say,
yes,
there's a website called BritishIronworksCentre.co.uk and National Anti-Violence UK Tour. So there's 30 or so cities and towns throughout the UK, and it's literally going pretty much everywhere.
Everywhere.
North, south,
Yeah.
east, west.
And I guess that list will continue to grow as they're working.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Roger, you had a question as well. Put your hand up.
I just wanted to briefly say, I just wanted to briefly say that this came up a few months ago down at North Somerset, and I think it's an absolutely fantastic idea. And the first thing I said is, can we have it in Portishead? And that's when they told me, I think, that it weighs 6 tons, and no, they can't move it from one location to another. But they would be doing outreach in different areas. So that's clearly what this funding's for. There's going to be a big publicity campaign behind it. You're going to see it on the news. It's a major thing that's going to happen in North Somerset. So to put something on the back of that to then support it into our local area, I think we'd be getting a really good bang for our buck. So I would like to see it supported. I know we're supporting it down at North Somerset. It would be great if all the councils who wanted to be involved could support it.
Okay, thank you. David?
And this 50, when you said £1,500, Ben, that was enough? They were happy with that?
It's a number. Sorry, it's a number I throw out there because look, they didn't give us a number. So they gave us a number roughly how much it's going to cost them and what money they've got. But whatever money they would get from local authorities now is helps them to get more outreach, hopefully get to more people, to kind of try and influence more people in a positive way. So yeah, so that was just a figure that I threw out there. So it's up to you guys.
Janet?
Under the circumstances, can we actually afford that as a council?
You know my opinion on it, Janet. If we don't support something like this, then we need to go and look in the mirror, take a very long, hard look at ourselves, whether we can afford it or not. This kind of stuff is important. Obviously, for me, it touches a core, obviously. But if you just every time you turn the TV on at the moment or look at the paper, somebody's been stabbed to death. It's got to stop. And if this influences some people to realise that what they're doing is absolutely ridiculous and dangerous and going to kill somebody, if not injure somebody, if not kill them, put them in prison, then I think £1,500 is a very small contribution. But that's my opinion.
I think you're right, Janet. I think that we know the budget is tight, but we're not talking a large sum of money here. We're talking a relatively small number. So I think any other questions, or we can. Oh, Emma.
Sorry, just given where we are with the grant funding and budgets that we've got left and where this is, can this come out of any of the funding that we've got potentially out of those community funds for this budget year? Earmarks,
Potentially,
maybe?
yeah. Potentially, yeah. We could look to see where we take the money from. Yeah.
Yeah. So it shouldn't be a question irrelevant, I guess.
Last opportunity for a question and then we'll move to proposal.
I was just going to say, I imagine if this came to the Community Grants Fund, this would get supported, and the Community Grants Fund is under spent for this year. Just to repeat what Emma said, so it seems sensible to me.
Okay. So shall we go to a recommendation that for the Community Matters Committee to propose Portishead Town Council support the Knife Angel with a fund of £1,500 to be decided where that comes from, which pot that comes from. We have a proposer for that. Ben's proposing it. Seconder, Bob. And all in favour? Is everyone? Thank you, everyone. Agenda item 8, Bristol Road playing field football grounds, to consider the removal of partially collapsed hedge and chain link fence behind the properties on Bristol Road. Sharon has kindly given me some photos here. Basically, the hedge has grown and grown and pushed the chain link fence to a point that it's about ready to just fall over. Yeah, you can see that it's been, the hedge has been cut back, but obviously where it's growing, you can only cut it back to the chain link. And of course, behind it, it just keeps putting pressure on and pushing it over. It is going to fall over, and if it does, then there's a risk there that it could cause some damage to people's property, back hedges, etc. So the recommendation is to approve budget. I don't have a figure for this though. Do we have a figure?
Do you want me to give just a quick little
Yeah, if you
overview?
could, yep, that'll be good.
Yeah, okay. So the fence was probably installed about 30 years ago. The replacement that we've only got one quote. The second contractor we contacted wasn't really interested, but there's an opportunity obviously to go and try and get a third quote. It's approximately 15 metres of 12-foot high chain link fencing with metal posts, which is currently what's in there, although it's rather dilapidated. We did enlist the help from a wildlife expert, a local chap, and he came and visited the site and suggested that we do the work in 2 stages, requiring 2 visits of an ecologist, which would cost approximately in the region of about £1,700 just to get an ecologist there for two days, so that the hedges inspected, partly taken down, allowed for any wildlife that is in there to migrate to nearby hedges, and then a second visit, and then the remainder of the hedge and fence taken down. So at the moment we're looking at about 5,200 to actually do the fence itself, plus just shy of £1,700 for the ecologist visit. I have spoken to the football club to make sure that that it is still necessary to have that provision there. And whilst the juniors are using the pitch closest to it currently, if they don't have that provision put back in, then it could restrict the use of the pitches. So they would like to see that replaced. We've obviously got a bird nesting season, which will be fastly approaching us. And according to the RSPB, the Bird Society, they recommend waiting or doing the work before March or after September, which is the main bird nesting season. But it is possible to do work outside of that proposal, but obviously it would really be necessary to have the ecologist there to make sure from a professional point of view that there's nothing in the hedge that could be harmed in doing so. But we are fastly approaching the time when we're going to need to do something, or it's going to fall, and it is very low on the ground. And that there's a balance to be had, I think, in terms of the risk to the wildlife versus risk to anybody walking past the fence or the hedge itself.
Yeah, so
Thank you,
so
Ben.
just to clarify on that then, so are they saying that if we have the work done prior to March, we don't need the ecologists?
No, the advice we had from the wildlife expert, the local one, who I shan't name because we've not had permission to do so, was that we really should have an ecologist look at it before we start.
Okay. Okay, any, Ben?
Yeah, Sharon and I were talking about this last week in the office. It's kind of, obviously, you don't want to injure any wildlife. Obviously, we've kind of come a cropper from it a couple of years ago. We did some work at Gertie Gales. But ultimately, when you've got that amount of people floating around the football club, it's a safety issue. You've got to weigh up the risks of what is going to cause the biggest problem here. And if that fence was to fall and the kid was to fall on it, what's your biggest enemy? Unfortunately, nobody wants any wildlife to be injured or whatever. We don't do what we can, but ultimately you've got to put kids' safety first. And if it came to a battle in a court of law, whether you tried to save a bird or a child, sorry, but I think quite frankly you'd lose. So I think we have to get it done, and we have to get it done as a priority because the football season's still running until middle of May-ish. If the weather plays nicely, it might run until the end of May. If the weather doesn't play so nicely, so I just think we have to get it done. I understand the experts' opinions on getting the ecologist in. However, I don't agree. I think as long as the contractor that we use does their job properly and shifts through the area properly and checks it every day before they start, and then we get it done ASAP, in my opinion, which will then save us £1,750. But it's a safety issue more than anything at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Emma? Yeah, we could got you.
Is it 1750 twice?
No.
1750 once, okay. Are we able to use any of the earmark funds that we've got for the football club that we've got in the budget?
We've allocated £5,000 for this work. We've already budgeted £5,000. So at the moment we're in or around the £5,000 area. It might go a little bit over, but in the current climate, it's not particularly unsurprising. Staffing costs, materials, etc. is going up, isn't it? Every single day, it seems like. So if we were to agree now, obviously we're going to be probably just over £5,000, so just over budget. Not ideal, not perfect, but slightly over. If we wait and get the ecologist in at 2 points at £750 a pop, thereabouts, plus VAT, I'm assuming, then we've gone effectively best part of 2K over budget. So and it's not, to me, it's not a money thing for me because that's not kind of the way I work. It's, you've got to balance the money, but there's a risk, there's a bigger risk here. So does the risk outweigh the cost? Does the cost outweigh the risk? Well, at the moment, looking at it, from hearing it from the experts, the risk outweighs the cost. Therefore, we have to prioritise getting it done. But if we get it done now without the ecologist, then it's going to cost 5.2, thereabouts.
Okay. I think we had a couple. Mike?
Thank you. Some weeks ago, their planning application on behalf of the football club was supported by hundreds of their supporters. And I can't help wondering, is this a job which could be done by some of the volunteers there or voluntarily done by some of the members? Either the hedge or the removal of the chain link fencing.
Yeah, I think so. We're responsible as the
Yeah, we are now,
landowners.
yeah.
There's no delegation.
I think the risk that we would take if we did it with a non-professional would be risky. Yeah. Any other questions on it? No. Okay. So if we look at the recommendation to approve budget of 5,000, which we've already got. Yeah. 7,000. Okay. So to approve a
Paul, sorry. Is the recommendation just the removal or the removal and the replacement? Okay. Okay, we've only got the removal in the agenda as the recommendation.
Yes, Janet.
Does that 6,000 plus include the ecologist's fee or just for the fence?
It includes the ecologist fee. It's 5,000. If I the numbers that you were calling out just now, it's 5,000 for the work, and then an additional 1,700 odd for the ecologist.
But if we decided not to use the ecologist and just get on with it before March, it would still be 5,000.
It would, yeah. With a small risk that the price might creep up a little bit. But the recommendation is that we use an ecologist. Yes, Mike.
So hedge fee.
The costs don't include any of that. That is one issue that doesn't include any plantation.
Would the council prefer to see a hedge reinstated for ecological reasons?
Yeah.
So some whips could get put in.
Yeah.
Which would be a good idea to put that in as part of the contract.
Yep. Okay. Ben, last point, and then we'll move to a recommendation.
I think the sticking point for some of us in our heads is the ecologist bit. Now, I know we've got the expert. I stand to get an email in the morning, probably. But if we're going to do this before nesting season, and we're very clear to the contractor that we watch what we're doing, we do it in the most respectful, delicate way as humanly possible, long before the nesting season starts. We've got effectively 5 weeks, if we can start it, say Monday as an example. I don't think we go with the ecologist, is my opinion. I think I take the advice. I think it's warranted advice. I think it's a good opinion. However, if we're going to do it before the season and the contractor does their job, then I don't think we need it, is my opinion. But that's I think it's a cost that we don't need to bear on this one.
Okay, well shall we put that to a vote first then, as to whether or not we go just with the removal of the hedge and the reinstatement of the fence, and look at some planting to reinstate the hedge without the ecologists. Who would be in favour of that approach?
As long as it was before March.
As long as it was before March, yeah. So can we have a vote on that approach, on that being the way forward, that we go without the ecologist report prior to March, with a contractor going in to remove the hedge, remove the fence, replace the fence with a new fence, and put some planting in to reinstate the hedge? Can we have a vote on that? We've got a proposer and second already. Yeah. Yeah, just a vote. Okay, so the recommendation then is to approve budget to facilitate the budget of 5,000 to facilitate the removal of collapsed hedge and fencing and reinstate the fencing and some planting.
Yeah, can I just say that the quote so far is £5,185.
Okay. So to approve budget of £5,185 to facilitate the removal of the collapsed hedge and fencing at the football ground, to reinstate the fencing and look at get a price in for plants to reinstate the hedge prior to March. We okay with that? Yeah. So can we have a proposer, Ben, seconder, David, and a vote? Thank you.
Somewhere.
Yeah, that's, yeah. And then yeah, we can do the planting ourselves, can't we?
Yeah. Okay. Agenda item 9, employee volunteer programme. So as many of you will know, lots and lots of companies these days provide employees with a volunteer programme where they can allocate a number of their days per year to go out and work in on projects, volunteer projects out and about. The proposal is that Portishead Town Council introduce this into the office staff. The proposal is to offer all staff 2 working days pro rata to be used for volunteering opportunities over the course of 1 year at full pay. Engage Voluntary Action North Somerset bands to coordinate and support the staff volunteer journey through planning, inclusion, advice, and ultimately as a matching service for suitable projects. I would imagine this is likely to be in and around Portishead, with sort of a restriction on going outside of obviously the Portishead Town Council area. Any questions on this? Has everybody read it? Does everybody understand it? Any questions? No. Okay. So the recommendation is to recommend to Staffing and Finance an employee volunteer programme. Can we have a proposer? Janet, seconder, David, and in favour? Everybody. Thank you. Agenda item 10, project management plan trial update. So we should all have had a document come through with an update as to where we are with that. We've got a number of projects that have one's already happened, which would be the RBL Remembrance Parade, but there's some other things that are coming into it now that are going through the PMP process. So the Lake Ground survey, the grit bins audit will transition into business as usual. The carbon action list and volunteer management program, and also some retrospective transition of the Penny Festival to business as usual. This isn't really anything that we're looking to approve. It's really just an update on progress with that. I know a number of councillors are already involved, David and Emma. Don't know, do you want to give a very brief update on the area that you're involved in, or are you happy with us just to move forward with this?
No, I mean, as long as we're keeping a track of the time that's taken to develop these plans, which isn't in the current report, I don't think. I'm just reading, because it's quite a complex process, and some of the items are quite relatively straightforward, like introducing a new or recommending a web browser. I think, as I've said before, I think it just needs to be proportionate, the amount of time that's spent on this in relation to the magnitude of the task. So in the next report, it'd be great to see that. It's good to have an early report here.
Yeah, sorry, Emma.
Yeah, I mean, it's project management, isn't it? The amount of work that goes in up front to make sure that everything is as we need it to be and as robust as process as possible. So yeah, I think there will absolutely be most of the work for projects is all up front. And then, you know, going forward from that, each of the types of projects that we do and the scope of that project will determine the benefit and the time benefit that we've got for having all of that material ready to roll. So yeah, there's definitely going to be a higher time spent with all of the preparation, but long term, it's, you know, it definitely has to be the way that we go, because then there's nothing that falls through any gaps. Anybody can, you know, pop in and just see that material and understand the scope of the project and what it is that they need to do. So it's the terminology probably that not scares a lot of people, but actually, you know, just getting everything down and getting everything in an organized sense is what we're doing. And be it, you know, a project plan could be a leaflet. It's still a plan, and it's still a scope, and it's still something that we need to adhere to. And yeah, and making sure that nothing falls through any of the gaps irrelevant of what it is that we're doing. So I think it's a really important process that we're going through to get everything aligned and get everybody, you know, on the same page, and the scope of everything that we've got related to various different things, which may or may not be called a project in you know, in terms. It just might be something that we're doing as an event or as an introduction internally, externally. But yeah, we just need to make sure that we're approaching it in the same way, and then nothing gets left.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. Yeah, just 1 minute, Janet. Yeah, so David, to your point, absolutely, this is going to take time up front, and I think we do need to make sure that we capture that time. But as long as it's managed carefully, it will be time well spent, because you will benefit from it every time you repeat that activity. Yeah.
For me, it's just the threshold at which we go through the process with things. You know, it's knowing what projects are sufficiently complex or risky to require the process to be undertaken. So, for example, the recommendation of a search engine, you know, that to me doesn't seem complex enough to merit this. It seems like a bit of advice to someone. So if we were to find it took 2 days to go through the project management process to then say we recommend all staff use Ecosia, that to me would be disproportionate. So for me, it's knowing at what point to enter the system, which I don't disagree with. I think for complex projects, it's important. But I've said this before, so I'll say it again. Sound like a broken record.
Thanks, David. Janet.
First of all, I agree with David. And second is, I've never heard of Ecosia trial or quality gates. Not being a project manager or ever having worked in an office, I do not know what the people are talking about, I'm afraid.
I could answer Janet's question. Ecosia looks great, actually. Since I found out about it, I tried using it, and I think unlike Google, I think for the more it's used, they plant trees, which has got to be a good thing. I think they've got an ambition to use profits for the benefit of the environment. So give it a try.
But what is Ecosia? I've never heard of it.
No, I haven't.
Yes, but you see, you haven't answered my question, David, because you said it's a jolly good idea, but you haven't told me what it is.
So Janet, it's a search engine, so the same as Google. Okay. Okay. And every time you use it, then it racks up points. And when you generate a number of points as an individual, they plant a tree. Okay. And so there are a number of people within the office that have already started using it. And yesterday, I think one of those individuals got confirmation that a tree has been planted. We don't know where, but a tree has been planted. So,
Just one last thing, I guess to answer your question, Janet, the quality gates are that method of being able to determine whether something moves forward into a larger project process or not. So we've got multiple quality gates, which then define how complex the project management is. To get to quality gate 1 is just to understand the scope of what it is that we're doing. If nothing else is needed and there's no funding or requirement or D&I or anything else that we need to go through, then that's as much as the project takes. So it's, that could ultimately be half a page of A4 as a summary to the rest of the councillors to understand what the scope of the works are. And that's why I'm saying, I think the terminology of a project worries people with the complexity of the amount of documentation or anything that you needed. But quality gate 1 really just gets us as far as just understanding what the scope is and making sure that there aren't anything or there isn't anything else that we need to determine or get funding or move forward with. So it's, I think once everybody gets more used to the documentation and the summaries and everything else, then it's not going to be any more than a well-worded email that is communicated to all that's necessary. So I wouldn't be worried about the complexity of how everything sounds at the moment. It will continue to be honed and it will continue to go through the process of making it relevant and right for what we need to do.
Yeah, it's so every time you go through this cycle, at the end of it, regardless as to whether it's a very small project, for want of a better term, that there's a learning process at the end. So you learn every single time as to next time something like that reappears, we don't need to worry about X, Y, Z steps because it can all be done at the start. Or go ahead. Ben, you had a question?
Yeah, just 2 questions. The bit I'm not sure why it's on here. The transition to BAU for the festival. Well, that's the Penny Festival, obviously. It's not even on the radar this year. It's gone. Why are we putting time into this? There's not even a budget allocated as a council for it. Why?
It's a process of gathering the information up. So as next year, when it is likely to be a Penny Festival, we will have part of this piece done already. We've got the information. We just need to get it into the right place.
I get that, but there's point. Still sounds why, because there's conversations been had that it won't be a council organised event. The council will have nothing to do with it. So why are we putting council time into it? That's point 1. Second point, the volunteer management programme. Obviously, Nikki's done an immense amount of work, obviously, on this and run 2 days last year, wasn't it? Again, I'm not sure why it's going through this process. It does feel like an immense amount of work and officer time going into it when we've already got a process that works and has been extremely successful, and Nikki's done an immense amount of work on it. I'm kind of with David on it. I'm not against project management stuff at all. It's kind of it's stuff that I used to do before I got into this world, but it just feels like we are just putting in a few layers that we don't need to. That's just my opinion. I'm not against it, but I'm concerned that this is going to eat up a lot of staff time here, and actually to get to the fact that say, for example, we may never run a Penny Festival ever again, whether it's a town council or this town full stop, yet we're currently ploughing in officer time, which is ultimately time that we're going to pay for and us, the taxpayer, pays for. I need to see, in my head, I need to see some justification for this. We've just agreed a budget, obviously, which was extremely hard work to get to, and I'm now seeing these bits. In my head, I need to see some reasoning why, and I'm not at the moment. And it's no disrespect to anybody, genuinely not, because I think everyone's doing a really good job and really hard work. But when you see two items here, sorry,
The,
I don't think they should be
the
there.
rationale to get it done now is that it's still fresh in people's minds, and things which have been problematic or have been solved are actually put down on paper and recorded. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the full project plan will be done for each of these elements in essence, but it just needs to be that kind of brain dump of the information into a project scope to then understand what it is, and as you said, the contacts that were made during those events, to make sure that we've got them recorded. That's as far as those two items will go.
And yes, yeah, it may be a case that the Penny Festival may not happen in the same way as it did previously. But there is a likelihood that something will happen in the future, that a festival of some type or an event of some type where we can use a lot of the information that's gathered as part of this, and we can put it out, which will make things a whole lot easier.
Okay, thank you.
Just in 1 second, Janet. Mike.
Thank you. Just to add to your answer, Janet, here is a flow diagram of the gates, gate 1 to gate 4. So you might wish to have a look at it. And in terms of Ecosia, I've been using it for years, and we now have 196,465,955, 56, 57, it keeps going up, 60 trees. So it works, and I've never had a problem with it.
I don't think I really want to see a diagram of this. No, please. It's not my sort of thing.
Yes, Janet.
Of course, I mean, I'm being flippant now. We might need another coronation event very soon.
Okay. Well, that was an interesting one. I think it will continue to be quite an interesting one, but hopefully we will be able to demonstrate. And I'm sure we will. We'll be able to demonstrate the benefits of this. But anyway, that was the update on that one. Agenda item 11, climate action update. To receive an update report on the climate action projects. Everybody's got that. Hopefully they've had an opportunity to read through it. So sustainability days, clothes swap, sewing bee, quite a long list of projects in process there, including the trial of the search engine. I find it's very useful. It's quite interesting. It's not quite up there yet with Google, but it's not far behind. It does link to Google in the background. So where it comes to its limitations, it does actually link into Google. No surprise there, but yeah. Any questions on the update on climate action plan?
Is that the one we got the leaflets for a week on Saturday, 3rd of February? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should push the date and the venue and the times. Just a suggestion.
Okay.
11 a.m. 3rd of February at Devotion.
Thank you.
Till 3 p.m.
Right. Agenda item 12, Hall Zero charging. Discussion point. To consider and discuss the potential policy on zero charging for the halls. So the report's attached. I'm sure many of us have got some questions on this one. Any question, Janet?
I agree with the idea of nobody having peppercorn rents, but actually have to apply to those community grants to get cover for the halls if they think they should pay zero. They should get a grant and to cover the costs. But I also think that town council run events should not be paying rent.
Okay, anybody's got views on that? Ben?
I'm not against it. I think it comes down to consistency, isn't it? I kind of agree with Janet. I don't think, if town council, say, for example, I call a business meeting in a council, I don't think we do, but we shouldn't charge to us for the hall, obviously, because it's the town council, use it for council business and that kind of thing. But I think, where do you draw the line here? Where's the stopgate? I'm going to use the project management terms here. Where is the stopgate on this? Because this is either going to go really, really well, or there's going to be a whole can of worms running down Portside High Street tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, and not one of us will be able to catch him. I'm not sure where this stops, because I think we could very easily get accused of, prioritising one group against another group, being unfair against one. I'm trying to think of the word I'm trying to get to. But not being consistent with our approach, not being fair. Yes, you have a policy, but how do you confirm that group adheres to that policy? Look at the issues we've had sometimes getting grants through, and some of the hurdles that these groups have had to go through. I think this is a very sticky wicket. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it should come down to judgment of the halls manager, and if they can't make the decision because it's a bit of an awkward one, then they should involve council and the proper officer, whatever, the clerk or the other deputy clerk. I think to have a policy on it, we're going to create ourselves more problems than we're going to solve with this. Personally, we'll get accused of being. It'll come to me in a minute. Yeah, all sorts.
I agree. In secondary, I agree with you on this one, Ben. My big concern on this one is that I think we will end up with various groups feeling that they get preferential treatment, and we're more supportive of one than we are of the other. I think it's a good idea, but I think it will be a very difficult one to administer in a fair way.
Excuse
David?
me, what does that actually mean? Are you saying that you agree with me that there shouldn't be peppercorn rent and everybody should pay the same amount?
I agree that the halls should be rented out at the normal hall rental rate.
And does that include for town council stuff?
Not for town council, no. It's
But
our
I
hall.
thought that was the discussion, really.
What?
That because that's what I said, was that nobody should pay peppercorn rent because, as you say, the unfairness. But if it's a town council run event, it shouldn't be paying.
I think I'm going to go back to, there's a lady in the room now, Laura. She ran an event last week, which was a town council event. But I don't know whether it did, but I don't think that event should pay to be in the hall. That is a town council event. I'm not saying I don't know the answer, so you may well do. But I think ultimately that's where we draw the line. If it is a town council run event or a town council meeting, or the councillors call a meeting to say do on buses or whatever, that should be free. But if a group is coming into this hall, say, I don't know, football club, I use the football club because they're probably not likely to, because they've got their own place, they should pay. And I don't think anybody should have a peppercorn rent. Why would you agree a peppercorn rent? Because why?
Is the definition public versus private? In that sense, if it's a town council event, it will be put on for the benefit of the public. Whereas if it's a private event, in that sense, it would be a particular group of people that operate under a banner of some sort, and which would be, private and not open to the public. Is that just I say black and white definition, but it might be something in between. But
I think it's for me it's really clear, and that is if Portishead Town Council are organising it, if it's this or something, you know, wellbeing event that's been organised or whatever, then I don't think there should be a rent. I think, but then if a group outside of Portishead Town Council wish to book it, then I think they should pay. They should just pay the going rate. Simple, very clear. Cool. David.
I completely agree with what's been said. I think it's really complex to try and police it. So I think what you guys have said about if it's a town council event, it's a charge. I just wondered what the origins of this discussion were, because presumably something has sparked this off. It seems like we've got a sensible policy in place, but we're discussing it again. There must be a reason for that. And I guess in terms of thinking about what's a town council event, the answer to that probably is an event organised by an officer of the town council, and that's the definition. So if Ben wanted to organise a football club meet here, then that wouldn't be in his role as a town council or as an officer. So maybe we just need to have a very clear definition of what is a town council event.
Laura, you wanted to say something?
I think some of the complexities here are, for example, through the Wellbeing Partnership, we want to support outreach into Portishead, and some of those outreach groups are unable to pay rental, but they may not be open entirely to the public. So as an example, there might be a men's wellbeing group that wants to offer counselling or peer-to-peer support. They don't ordinarily pay rental. Are we in a position to offer them the Fedham room? Or, and there is a proposal coming up, eating disorder outreach. They don't have a budget for a room, but can we offer them a civic space to provide that service? But coming from an asset-based community development perspective, it's not for an officer to run those groups, but can we support those groups to have outreach? So in terms of my role, for example, is to bring more equity for wellbeing to Portishead residents, but to enable that helps if we can offer a space that doesn't have a charge attached to it. But then the complexity is if you're offering that to some groups and not to others, but that's just for my role. But that's not a football meeting, or, you know, these are sort of wellbeing related services, but that's my filter, just to add a.
Yes, Mike.
Another sort of grey area is, for example, next Tuesday night when the Portishead Rail Group meet here, which is a public meeting, so anyone can walk through that door and attend it. And yet, whether they pay a charge or not, I don't know. I presume they probably do.
Yeah, I think, Laura, I get your point. There's nothing stopping those people from applying for a grant to cover the hall rental. And, you know, generally speaking, we would support that type of wellbeing event that benefits, you know, the Portishead residents. You know, that's exactly what, you know, the grants and etc. is there for. Yes, Ben.
Yeah, just Paul's kind of take the words out of my mouth. We've done it before for a couple of groups that couldn't afford the whole rental, and a number of other things they wanted to do for the community. It benefits the community, and if they can prove the benefit to the community, then they are within the realms of applying for a grant. And there's 2 or 3 groups I think we've given it grants to over the past couple of 3 years, and some of that ironically is £15 hall rental. We're giving it to them in one hand, and actually we're taking it back in the other. It sounds daft, but it's the fairest way of administering the process. They can't afford to pay it, or some groups just don't have a budget, full stop, but they're offering a service to Portishead residents. And what we have to do is we have to show the benefit to Portishead residents. That's ultimately whatever we do, that's what we have to do. So it's trying to be fair, and sometimes it's not easy, but we will try as best we can. But
yeah, it is about being fair. It's also about being able to have a level of control over the costs, because, you know, the hall costs money, but if we do it through the grant process, then at least we got visibility of it. We know, and it does, you know, you do hand it out with one hand, take it back with the other, but there's visibility, there's control around it. So, you know, that application will get reviewed, go through various gates, etc. So we can justify the benefit. Okay. Anything else on this one? No. So the recommendation is to agree a policy for zero charging to be drawn up. I'm sort of feeling that this is probably going to be a non-starter, but we do need to put it to the vote, I guess. Do we?
Can we change the recommendation? Can we not change the recommendation to agree to look and review?
Okay, can we amend the recommendation on this, please, Sharon, and to agree to review and create a fair charging policy for groups looking to rent Portishead Town Council hall space. Okay with that? Yes, Roger.
Sorry, I was listening to this. It came to me that I thought you were all pretty much in agreement that that the best way to fund this was to ask people to apply for grants, and now you're changing it so that we're going to put a policy in which looks like it will go around. I mean, this one seems to go around the grant system if we voted it through today. And so if we're going to put together a policy for where we're not going to charge, that's again going to usurp the grant system, which I thought from the room that people were in favour of it being granted rather than being gifted on a policy basis. But obviously, I by the way you're shaking your heads, I got that one wrong then. But from my perspective, you know, let's grant people, as we've done in the past, if they want rent and they can't afford it. But it's a can of worms if you go the other way, to me. So that's my feedback on it.
David?
Sorry, just going back on the wording of that recommendation, I think you were saying a fair charging process. That kind of implies there might be a kind of variation. I'd sort of go for a clarity on the charging process. You know, I mean, it's quite straightforward, really. I mean, the policy companies, town council events, free. Everything else has to be grant funded or paid by the organisation.
Okay, so recommendation you would recommend then that we develop a policy, a clear policy on hall rental. Yeah. Okay.
I think what David, sorry, Emma, I think what David is saying that we could write it now, because we were all in agreement that everyone should pay, except if it's a town council event. We don't need to have a working party for this.
I'm not suggesting a working policy. I think we just go back to it. You know, so Wendy's put this forward. The clerk's put this forward, and we need to go back to the clerk and say, you know, this is not the way we think this should go forward. Sorry, you want to say something? But I get your point, David. I think it will be a very simple document, but in the interest of time, I don't think this one we're going to write this second. But I think we can go back with with a recommendation that we come up with a clear document on all rental. Is that okay?
Paul, I think the salient, sorry, Sharon, I was just going to say that the salient points are already in the recommendation, in the numbers above the recommendation. So from 4, 5 and 6, basically state what we all just said, that where Portishead Town Council are running an event, it's a free of charge in that sense. If they're facilitated by officers, irrelevant to the timescale that we've got here, then obviously it's a free of charge event. But if anything else is there, such as, you know, anything for the benefit of the public run by Portishead Town Council, it's a free of charge event, and anything else is, should groups need financial assistance to run the activities, they'd be allowed to apply for a town council grant. So I think it's, yeah, I don't think there's any complexity in that sense. It's A, B, and C, isn't it? Chargeable, town council run or operated, and then those other groups that can't potentially fund it. It's grant funding application.
Well, in the interest of time, I'm going to drop this one. We're not going to go to recommendation. I'll take this back to the clerk to have this proposal reworded. Okay.
Okay, so we've had 1, 2, 3 recommendations, but no proposals.
Yeah, yeah.
So your proposal is to revisit it.
To revisit it, yeah.
So, your proposal.
Yeah.
Felix, does that have a second?
Second, Janet, and all in favour of taking this back to the clerk to revisit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, excuse me, I am suffering now. Oh. Right. Huh? No, it's gone. Okay, agenda item 13. Oh, so CYP mental health project update. Sorry, really struggling. Let me find the report. No, it was there. Thank you. Okay, so preliminary planning meetings are taking place between an informal partnership and ourselves. The West of England Nature Partnership, Gordania School, Brown Rock, Farm Outdoor College, and Off the Record. Funding's been secured, and there's discussions going on around a couple of potential locations, and I know that Laura, you've been looking at possibly using Slade Road as part of this, and also there's a landowner out in Northwestern who's also quite interested, but I think they're probably quite a long way away from being in a position where they can move this forward. Gordania School are also very keen to progress this, but I know, Laura, you've raised some concerns around Gordania School because and correct me if I'm wrong here, because if it goes ahead in Gordania School, then the likelihood is that those children who have been excluded will then not be able to access, and those are sort of some of the people that we really need to get in and benefit from this. So there's ongoing work with this, quite a bit of work with the likely location in Slade Road. And then, you know, getting the schools, etc., involved to sorry, my head has gone. To move this one forward. There's the idea of this is to work with children and young people who will benefit from working. Oh, sorry, David.
Do you want someone to take over chairing?
Yeah, would you mind? I am really struggling.
I can see.
Burning up.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Would you mind, Em?
No, that's fine.
I'm going to get myself a drink of water.
Yeah. Oh, do we have the report? Thanks. Thank you.
I'll be
Okay. So, it's the CYP Mental Health Nature-Based Project. So the preliminary planning meetings are taking place between an informal partnership of ourselves, the West of England's Nature Partnership, Gordano School, Brown Rock Farm Outdoor College, and Off the Record. The funding has been secured to provide a structured programme for children and young people focused on shared experience with nature and building relationships through listening, and how nature connection can support issues such as anxiety, self-harm, and school avoidance. We would like this project to be launched this spring, but urgently need a location. With the recent development regarding Slade Road's field removal from the development list, I would like to investigate whether this project could beneficially support a sense of pride in place and protection of the existing nature there by developing it for green social prescribing as well as for other open spaces for residents. Further funding for the activity will be sought from the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. So, do we have a cost that we're looking to sign off for? Sorry, Sharon. All right. So there's no cost. Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah, contact us when you get back. All right, thanks, Paul. Do you need to do? Yeah. Okay, sorry, Shem. Should we reconvene? Yeah, okay. So we're just looking in essence for agreement in terms of the location that this is to be run at. In essence. Yeah. Oh. Not yet, no, obviously. Yeah. But yeah. So do we, yeah, but are we looking to request the use of the land in this instance, or? Oh, sorry, Ben.
Obviously, I'm going to, as I said last week in the council meeting, I'm going to kind of touch base, and even though some steps at the end of this month, and then touch base with them and just kind of see where they're at. We know the cogs aren't always quick, that's fine. But my other thing is we've got a window to do something with this piece of land, otherwise they could take it back, obviously. So we are absolutely desperate. I've got groups chomping down the throat to get hold of this. etc. There is a tentative meeting set up a week on Friday to kind of discuss between myself, Laura, and a couple of groups that would like to be involved. Obviously, with Wild Portishead have obviously emailed us again this week. So, you know, we are absolutely eager to do it. I think the question that I've been asked that I will ask North Somerset is, in principle, while we go through this process of negotiating this transfer, can we use it? Can we get it cleaned up and can we use it? If they say yes and put it in writing to us, then I think we should keep going while we then discuss the terms of the transfer of the land. I think it's important that we haven't got time to waste on it. There's people that want to use it and it's a great space. I think that the point that's been made regarding obviously going into one of the relevant spaces for this isn't helpful at all. Whereas this space, we could make this as good as we want to, effectively, potentially. It has the potential to get some real legs and go. We have another request this week from a resident that maybe consult with, say, the air ambulance, it'd be a landing pad potentially. I don't know. So that's one of the questions been asked this week. So we just need to kind of consider all avenues, but ultimately we need to kind of get into hold of North Somerset. So yeah, I think the question short answer is yes, we do.
We've got neutrality
Yeah.
there at the moment
Yeah.
as well, haven't we? So,
Yeah.
okay. Okie dokie. Right, item number 14, the wellbeing coordinator update. Laura, you? Can you come to the mic or when you have paper shuffling this? No worries. Thank you.
So it goes straight to January because it superseded the last one, really. So updates, the wellbeing workshop series. The last one was living with chronic pain, and you should have an evaluation, a one-page evaluation report. So we've got the next talk is diabetes management on the 7th of February. We've taken some bookings for that. We've got the presenters lined up. You've got the valuation there for living with chronic pain. We had over 20 people here. You've got the evaluation. I don't know what more to say on that one, really, but they're proceeding well. Then the Wellbeing Partnership. We had the quarter-one meeting of the Wellbeing Partnership. We had 32 different Wellbeing Partnership organisations attend. It was a very successful meeting. The focus was on starting well, and we had individual presentations from the Children's Centre up at the St Barnabas Hall on the Hill. We had Portishead Parent did a presentation, and the Knife Angel came and did a presentation. So that's really successful, and there's a lot of collaboration that comes out of those meetings. I have attached the slides from that meeting and the minutes for further information. Spring into Wellbeing, we've currently got 44 exhibitor stands, and I have had 2 other requests. I don't think I can squeeze them in, but we'll see. So that's going great guns. And we've already taken 13% of the blood test bookings, even though we haven't actively publicised that yet. Communications managers doing a lot of work with me on the leaflet and poster, and that is all going to be really active. We've got another meeting on Friday just to finalise all of that, and then the promotions will start in proper. The Beacon Hub, we've got about 18 stands in the Beacon Hub and about 32 in Somerset Hall, and then we've got some workshops going on around town. So that's looking like it will be really successful. There's the cost of living fund update on page 2, finalising all of the applications that were successful from last year. Then the update that Emma just gave on the Children and Young People's Mental Health Nature-Based Project. So I think that's the bulk of it. Then the only last update was a proposal for Sweden. So one thing that came out of the wellbeing workshops from last year, we had an eating disorder, develop a healthy relationship with food workshop, and it was recognised that actually we don't have a lot of outreach in Portishead for residents that have an eating disorder. Once you've been discharged from high intensity services, Portishead is a little bit deficient. So there is a proposal because I would like to apply for £66 to support Sweda doing a monthly outreach service in Fedingham. Details on that proposal. So that £66 would basically fund 2 hours once a month to have professional services come into the Fedingham and do a 1 hour drop-in and a 1 hour more focused group for people that are in recovery or supporting someone in recovery on their journey with an eating disorder, and £6 for teas and coffees.
Is that a proposal that we are covering here? Is that planned?
I'd like you to cover it here, so I can go back to them and say,
Okay. Oh. Yeah. 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 Proposer and a seconder with Janet. And all in favour of that? Yeah. Yeah.
so the background on that is they run lots of services, but they don't have a lot. The only face-to-face is in Shepton Mallet or Bristol. So yeah, if we can provide them with a room,
Yeah.
they will pilot doing some outreach for us in Portishead, which I think would be of real value. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Okay, item 15 is the cost of living fund. And as we've just alluded to, I think by memory, £36,222 that we're up to at the moment. We further? Yeah. And that is, but specifically to say that that's now available actually on the
Oh,
website.
so that's
as well,
what's
isn't
been
it?
spent. Sorry, apologies. So that's what's been spent. So,
but we have got the most up-to-date figure now available on the website as well, haven't we? So, yeah. Okay, and that fetches us to item 16, which is the date of the next meeting. So that's Thursday, 22nd of February at 7:30 p.m. We'll probably be, as normal, back upstairs in the Wigan room. And that's it. That's meeting closed at 21:34. Sure. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.